Hello, everyone. Welcome to another EBS, Come Sit With Us meditation. My name is Steve, and very happy to have you here with us today. The meditation today, or the meditative thought of the day, in a sense, is the idea of open your heart and your mind will follow. Okay? So sometimes, if you already have a meditation practice going, maybe there have been times when all of a sudden you just kind of get into a space where you feel a little sense of quietness, a little bit of stillness, a little bit of extra kind of peace that seems to be there kind of surrounding you. And in a sense, maybe what's happened is that we have touched upon that place of true compassion in our hearts. We know that compassion is a central teaching of Buddhism, but we also know it's a central teaching of all the major religions, right? And so why is that quality so prevalent out there that we all know? And I think the thought is that anytime any of us, no matter our background, our religion, our beliefs, where we are, our cultural stuff, I think when the mind settles down and quietens, then we begin to feel that expansiveness of something that's greater than us, right? And I know you've heard me talk about this several times, but today it's the focus is that we have to practice keeping that door open for that experience to find a place to express itself through. Now, follow what I just said right there, right? Practice keeping the door open to allow that experience to express itself through, meaning that compassion or unconditional love maybe is there the whole time. Maybe it's the very foundation of who we are. Maybe it surrounds us. Maybe we are in a sea of unconditional love, of true compassion. But what happens is we just can't see it. The habits of our mind, the old tapes we've had running around for all of our many years, are so loud that all we can see sometimes is our hurt, our fear, our inability to let go of the pain that we've had. And so when someone gets angry at us, we automatically feel very angry right back at them. When something bad happens to me, I might feel that, I deserve this. You know the tapes, all those tapes are just naturally part of who we are. They don't make us bad people. We get to make choices of how we respond to these tapes, but they do kind of define a lot of the qualitative aspects of our life. And so I think that when we meditate and slow everything down, we have a chance to step back from all those tapes. And when we step back from that, maybe what happens is we see the bigger picture. Just a little bit, just a little bit. I would imagine, don't know, that if we came across a enlightened being, they're out there somewhere, I know, and spent a little time with that person, my guess is that they will see past who we define ourselves as, and they see into our hurt, into our angers, into our selfishness, and all of that. And when they see into the nature of that pain, then possibly they see beyond those narrow definitions, and they touch upon something that they see that is so real, right? And so I think that the compassionate heart is a pretty universal experience. And when we experience it, it is something that is not defined by the limited small ego of who we feel ourselves to be, right? Now, I know that in real life, we can't just drop all of our karmic garbage and walk away from it. It just don't work that way, does it? But maybe through practicing compassion, maybe through practicing meditation, we can set it down from time to time and loosen our grip on it a little bit and step back and see into the hurts, into the fears and all of that. And when we see that, maybe we have the opportunity to practice what I think maybe is one of the hallmarks of a compassionate heart, and that is forgiveness. Imagine that ability, first of all, to see into your pain, into, all those things that cause us grief, right? See into that far enough that you can see beyond it a little bit and understand how you hurt. And the way that you hurt is shown in the pain that you carry. And as you see that, maybe you have that mindfulness moment of being able to practice forgiveness. And imagine if you could practice forgiveness to just that, your own insight into self, and you can loosen that grip of all of that karmic garbage that we carry around, then perhaps with a little practice, you begin to be able to see into and beyond, to some degree, the hurts that that other person has. Not just you, but that other person out there. That person that's yelled at you or has been unmindful of you or has cut you off or whatever it might be. There are, do we not have those people in our lives? We are blessed with that. Even if we live in a cave, I think somehow we come across that person who just unknowingly just pushes our buttons, right? And in the traditional practices, those kind of people are seen as teachers because we are responding to their pain so strongly that it reflects our pain, and it allows us the opportunity, it allows us that moment to be able to see into that pain, those thoughts that are totally focused on misperceptions, and to see beyond that a little bit and to set that down, to open it up a little bit. So the idea here is that if we practice forgiveness, every time we do that to just a small degree, we open that door for compassion to begin to express itself. Okay? We don't have to ask for compassion. We don't have to go looking for it. The assumption is, and the thought and the experience has been for me at least, that it is naturally a part of us. I don't always see it clearly. A lot of times I forget that it's there. But once you've touched it, then you have a profound moment. You have your aha moment that tells you that that's more real than anything else that I might experience in this life, And just think about that. Even if you haven't had that, I know that you can imagine what that would be like. There's something way back in your mind that can recall what that must actually feel like to be touched by unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, the true depth of compassion. Okay? So, today we're going to practice a meditation that's based on forgiveness. And the thought being, compassion has many qualities to it. But I would have to say, at least in my practice, which is, so big, in my practice, forgiveness has got to be one of the major cornerstones of practicing compassion. So it sounds kind of weird to say that, doesn't it? To practice compassion, when really compassion is just inside of us. Why do we have to practice that? And I think that what we're really saying is, what we're practicing is going beyond the conditional tapes, thoughts in our mind that we hold on to, that we identify with, and we see the world through those perceptions. When we see the world through those perceptions, then it's kind of like, if you see through the color blue, everything's blue around you. What's the saying? A fellow that has leather sandals walks on a world covered in leather, that kind of thing. And when we step away from that and maybe see beyond that self-perception and into a more universal perception, then maybe we come closer to finding our truer nature. So today's meditation is very simple. We pray that all meditations are really simple. Huh? It does involve the practice of being able to visualize. Now, I just want to say that visualization is a skill that you develop over time. There are a lot of exercises that you can do to enhance your ability to visualize. I had a friend of mine who I think he would practice counting to 10 and see the numbers 1 through 10 above him in his mind's eye as he counted. He was just practicing that ability to truly visualize. When you visualize in meditation, the ability to see it clearly with clarity of detail really brings it home to you. There's that. The second thing about visualizations or guided meditations or whatever is that ability to feel what's happening. And that means you got to use your imagination a little bit. Let's say the meditation is standing under a waterfall. Well, I've got to be able to see that really clearly. I need to hear that too. I need to feel what that must be like for that water to run down me, right? And do all that. And as I do those things, as I hit all of those perceptual cues, then the visualization becomes very strong. I can truly latch onto it. And I'm less likely to let monkey mind come in and rock my boat very much. You know what I mean? So food for thought on this visualization. And what we're going to do is, of course, begin our meditation of just settling. Okay, pretty simple. And then what I want us to do is to practice the art of forgiveness. And to do that, you have to have a point of focus. And it's best if that point of focus is something or someone that is in your immediate life. To say, I want to forgive the world, that's a very abstract, generalized thing. A very good thing to do, you know, and what have you. But in this practice, you've got to be able to see that person in front of you. You've got to be able to see the hurt that you feel with that person. And then you have to be able to see beyond that hurt. Just imagine being able to see beyond that hurt for a little bit and to feel what true forgiveness is like. Because when you feel that, then you and that other person stand in that same light. And it equally affects both of you, right? So again, think about who it is. It might be your mother, your father, brother or sister. It might be your spouse. It might be someone you work with. It's someone that you're close to. And for most of us, when I say this, more likely than not, immediately you come up with a name or a picture of who you need to work with a little bit. So use that. And just spend the time seeing them clearly in front of you. Focus on the hurt that you feel that's happened. There's something that person has done that has hurt you in some way, made you feel angry, made you feel stupid, inadequate, I don't know, you know, whatever it is. And then imagine, pretend that you can see past that hurt. Because anyone that attacks you, all they're really doing is showing you their hurt, right? That's what it is at the ultimate. And so you're looking at beyond the behavior, beyond the event itself, and you're looking into the person. You want to be able to imagine where their hurt is that has caused them to act in this way. And then when you can kind of see that, then just imagine standing together in compassion and forgiveness, standing together in that kind of light and just letting go and just relaxing and stand in that moment. You know, so we're gonna give that a try today. All right, let's go ahead and I'm sure you're already seated. I'm in a chair. If you're on a cushion, regardless, is just to start to settle down for a second. And what that means is when I sit to meditate, my attention begins to shift to an awareness of my body. My breathing starts to slow down a little bit, my mind, my thoughts begin to slow down a little bit. And I naturally take a deep cleansing breath. And as I do that, I can feel my body beginning to relax, beginning to let go of the stressors that I feel a little bit. And as that happens, as my body relaxes and lets go, then my mind also begins to relax a little bit, and it too begins to let go. For me, I close my eyes when I meditate. Some keep them open. And now I take a few more breaths. And as I feel myself relax, I become a bit more aware of the space around me. And with each breath, that space grows. I just kind of feel an expansiveness. And what we're going to do as we breathe, each breath goes deeper. Each time we exhale, it goes further out. And at a certain point, I begin my meditation. See that person in front of you. See the hurt. See the person carrying that hurt. Stand with them in that light of forgiveness. And we're going to practice just holding that light here for about the next 10 minutes. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Slowly open our eyes. See if we can imagine feeling that light of forgiveness right now. So sometimes what happens to me is that I can picture that person and I see their anger directed at me. That's pretty easy. And then I imagine stepping there and standing beside them in that light. And we stand there together. And then I breathe and just hold that. And then my mind drifts. Imagine that. And I kind of repeat that process. But then on trial number 3 or 4, after I've done that a couple of times, then really it's as if all I'm really doing at this point now is just standing in that light and doing my best at holding that light. I don't see them, I don't see me. I just see that light that I am holding, and I'm allowing compassion to express itself through me to the best of my small ability, right? And if you can imagine, just practice that for a short while. Set yourself, I don't know, 7 days, 10 days, 7 months, 10 months, whatever you want to do. That little exercise at some point in the day, and just kind of think about picking that person, seeing their anger and all of that. That's the stages leading up to standing there in that light of forgiveness. And then the next stage is just that light of forgiveness and holding on to that. Now, I think that the trick of these kind of meditations is that a lot of people who have practiced this, say it feels like a healing for them has occurred. And I think that maybe it's just letting go of some of those thoughts and emotions that cause so much strife for us. But I think that too, that what we have to do and what we have to consider is if in any way whatsoever this meditation has touched you and made sense to you, then you have to practice it off the cushion. And so the next time you're with family, work, community, neighbor, and you come across one of those things where you start to feel a little annoyed with somebody or anxious about whatever it might be, then in your mind's eye, just take a breath, a little bit of a cleansing breath, let it out, and briefly imagine standing in that line of forgiveness right there in that moment. And then see what happens. Because I think that all of our meditations that we do on the cushion are good, are great. They bring us sanity, right? But we got to consider taking them off the cushion and applying them in our day-to-day life. And then that becomes the meditation, then starts to become a 24/7 event versus just a cushion event. So food for thought, things like this. It's always good to push your boundaries a little bit of, what you think. Sometimes, we work with people who've gone through so much and they are so full of hurt, legitimate hurt. I mean, the real deal kind of hurt. And we know that that healing process, that forgiveness, sometimes is months, years in the making. But if they don't keep at it, then it ends up being this huge wall that develops. And so if you really feel drawn to this, just imagine that every time you practice it, you open that door a little bit. Every time you open that door a little bit more, a little bit more. Because if we don't do that, we close the door and we build up walls. And so with this meditation, the idea of compassion, one of the essence cornerstones of the Buddha's teachings, the idea of compassion is theoretical. I can read 1,000 books on it. I can understand it intellectually all day long, but until I experience it directly, I'm not benefiting from that. And so hopefully this meditation, to some small degree, allows us to have that direct experience. So we hope that's the case. Thank you guys for coming today. Certainly appreciate it. And look forward to seeing everybody down the road. And take care, and hope your meditations bring you happiness. So take care. See you guys. Bye.